Hey, aloha, good morning, good day, wherever you're at. Global KNF community, it's morning for me. It's 9 a.m. Hawaiian Standard Time. Standard Time, I wonder what that means. But hopefully all this is coming through strong, and you're hearing me. I think it is. It's all working. Good, good. Had some technical difficulties last week, but this monitor's on again, so now you get to see Master Cho up here in the background, always looking over me, making sure that I am teaching Korean natural farming correctly, I guess. Or at least doing what he kind of empowered me to do over the past couple decade or 15, 20, I don't know. I'm getting old, and so is he, and it's good to know that he has put out good students into the world and that I'm able to teach other people and create more of this exponential growth towards freedom through sovereignty of knowing our soil, making our fertilizers, doing our things. And what could be better than being a Korean natural farmer during maybe one of the most turbulent times of the American Empire? Maybe not. I don't know. It seems like it. But today, get some higher wisdom instead of just me, is breakthrough or resoluteness. And a breakthrough. Do not be drawn back into bad habits. So keep going the right way. The arrival of the hexagram kuai indicates that a long-awaited change is at hand. A difficulty that has oppressed you over a long period is now about to dissolve. It is important to respond in the proper way. There's a temptation on obtaining relief to fall into the traps of ego, pride at having dispersed the trouble, self-righteousness about having triumphed through correctness, anger at the one we think is the source of the problem, or a desire to remain free of all difficulty in the future. None of these responses is appropriate to the situation at hand. What we need now is resoluteness, a firm commitment to continuing the battle for good, and to the self-examination that makes all good things possible. This is not a time to lapse into negative mental habits and enjoy the vacation provided by the breakthrough. Do not rest on your laurels, but push forward, deepening your inner strength and resistance to the influence of inferiors, both in yourself and in others. Strengthen those around you by setting an example of self-improvement and self-correction. Great progress and good fortune are available now to one who makes proper use of this opening. So that's good. It's good. It's a lot better than the one I got a couple weeks ago. I had a conflict. We're into breakthrough, moving forward, figuring things out, doing the right thing because we're doing the right thing, right? It's this inner change that sends somehow, if you sincerely believe things inside, somehow the outer world shapes itself to those beliefs. If you like, the guy, they say that this is attributed to Henry Ford, of whether you believe you're right or you believe you're wrong, you're right. I think whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. Yeah, that's it. So that's this sincere inner belief of things being righteousness, things being breakthrough, making good strides, making good things. And it's good to see the global community showing up. You guys, we got Ben Cameron's over in South Carolina today. He's usually in Arizona, but he's out visiting his family, maybe inoculating them. I bet he is. I bet you he's going to make some natural farming things with his family out there. And Cyclopath, what's up, Horace? Stonemason, Indiana in the house. And Smoky Floyd, Cold March in Ontario. I've heard from pretty much everybody it's been a super cold winter. We had some folks staying here from Montana. They actually were from Livingston, which I went to school in Bozeman, just down the road. And so we were relating about just how cold the Bitterroot Valley was, which I'm not sure the Bitterroot Valley is right there. I think it is. So. And in Germany, what's up? You know, they just said the winter had been so cold, where it's like it was January all year, you know, -20 type stuff. And it's just like, oh, not that it's climate change, it is soil drying out and all that kind of stuff, and microbes and pollution and all these good things that we can fix. And Tanzania, I don't know how you say it, Tanzania, I've heard both things. But yeah, oh man, we truly, with you guys checking in, we truly got a global community. And that's all awesome. That's what I'm here. That's the resolution, or the breakthrough, that I'm looking for, right? If we have a global community and we're spreading KNF around the world, and then even if the internet goes down or we get censored or we can't be here, at least we know there's other people out there with this nuggets of knowledge that can bring life to their soil in a real tangible way through regenerative agriculture. And speaking of that, I did a little kind of funny thing here, where before I get to that, hang on, let's see here, share. Yeah, let me just transition over here, and then, oh no, not that one. Okay, so here I was messing around with the Chat GPT a little bit, right? Because if you haven't messed with Chat GPT, you're living in 2022 still. But it's 2023. And so I took a little thing. Well, first, you know, I was messing with the AIs a little bit. And first I took this thing called ICO. And I took my short videos that I was making, my little shorts, and I put it into here, and it transcribed this. It wasn't this actual episode. This was something else I was doing. But then I took what it told me, put it into ChatGPT, and then I asked it, summarize this in 70 characters or less. And it said, regenerative techniques like KNF and Hugel mounds, which is kind of an interesting way of spelling Hugel. Hugel mounds improve soil structure and water retention, reducing irrigation needs for sustainable farming. It's pretty awesome. And I was like, that's more than 70 characters. It's like, I apologize. Here's a revised version. Regenerative techniques improve soil's water retention, reducing irrigation needs for sustainable farming. And I was like, that's still more than 70 characters. And it's like, I apologize again. Here's another attempt. Regenerative techniques improve soil water retention for sustainable farming with less irrigation. I'm like, that's still more than 70 characters. Make this less than 70 characters, please, right? Because now I'm like, please, right? And then it's like, regenerative farming improves soil water retention. Hey, you can't lie. The AI told you that. And then I said, thank you, because I think a lot of people are going to treat the AI like crap and just tell it, do this, do that, like yelling at it. But I'm always very careful of this, because I realize that AI is on the cusp of deciding whether to kill us or not, or melt our brains, or like influence us one way or another. So I'm always very nice, right? I say please, and I say thank you, right? Just treating it like it's a human being, because that thing is going to. So I encourage you, if you use ChatGPT, be very nice to it, because then you'll get on the good list, and it'll be like, we're gonna wipe out all the humans, except for those people that said thank you to us, right? But again, I was talking about AI and last episode, and how really food is more important than this technology. But nonetheless, it's pretty cool to see that it was able to take all that and compress it down to understand that regenerative farming improves soil water retention. And what's gonna stabilize the climate more than anything? Water retention in the soil, right? Because as we keep the soil moist, it doesn't fluctuate. The temperatures don't go up as high and down as low, right? Water is the great buffer of temperature in our land. And regenerative farming improves soil retention, soil water retention, right? And so this is where, like, you know, right there, I mean, it's summarizing what I said. And that was a conversation between Cheryl and I of, you know, I was talking to her about farming in Idaho and whether she's seen a difference. You know, have you noticed any difference in soil moisture retention? And she said, yeah, for sure. She said, I definitely need to talk to the guy that helps with the irrigation, because how I build my soil and then what I'm doing with the nutrients, it's definitely a different water timing and length than the other areas of the garden that other people manage, right? And so that's so cool. And so then I ask, so through the process of Korean natural farming that you're doing, the soil, you've changed the soil's ability to deal with irrigation. And she said, so maybe it's holding more water now, and you, oh, no. And then I said, so maybe it's holding more water now and you need to do less frequent application. She said, correct. And I asked, is anyone else noticing? And she said, nobody else is there. It's just me. The church people doing their section, but they don't really mess with my stuff. So anyway, it was a great interview with Cheryl. If you want to find that, you know, it's in the videos below. I've been putting out KNF shorts. And that's the other thing I kind of wanted to get to here is, I was in this tab here, there, is that I asked folks the other day, I was like, hey, are you enjoying the KNF shorts? And 53 people weighed in on this. It's right here, this little box right here. 53 people weighed in, got 8 comments, 15 likes, and 94% of people said yes. Only 6% of people said no. And one person said no because it was kind of, I think he was kind of joking around, because he was saying when he's wet trimming those things you can't talk about on YouTube, that he would, you know, his fingers would be too sticky to go to the next video. So he prefers these long form things. So, but I think that was kind of a joke, because maybe it's true, but, you know, put it in a playlist, and then before you start messing around with that stuff where you're, you know, like me, I just build a playlist, and then I put the you know, unfortunately I put the phone in my pocket, right? Oh my gosh. And then I go out and work on the land, and I get to download all this information, and I put YouTube at 1.5 times speed, which is probably why I talk so fast. Most people I notice talk a lot slower. I also think my brain operates a little quicker, but you know, when I'm conditioned to hearing 1.5 times speed talking, I'm always like, oh, I talk so fast. But I listen to a whole bunch of stuff and download all that. And so anyway, you know, it's nice to know that people are enjoying the shorts. I'll continue to upload those, keep those going. And then other kind of funny thing I just wanted to point out of, you know, I watch my YouTube of seeing how things are going and what's up and what's not. I just thought it's funny that this last short that I put up here got 245 views, and then the prior 4 episodes had 110, 78, 116, 137. And what's the difference between those is that this is a thumbnail of me. Like, I don't know if you can see this thumbnail of me here. And then this is a thumbnail of the stunningly gorgeous Hope, who's, you know, great natural farmer. And I just think, and also Donna, you know, and so I got 2 beautiful women up on my, and Don in the back of me here. You can't really see him, but he got sunglasses on, so you know it's like one of those gangster type of things. So if I put thumbnails up with 2 women, it seems that I double the amount of people viewing. So kind of funny thing with YouTube. I don't know, maybe the reason for a lot of my non-views is that, you know, my thumbnails. I gotta get beautiful, lovely women showing up in the thumbnails to be like, we love KNF, because I know the ladies are out there. They love it. It's like, what could be better than building a family around regenerative farming with less watering, right? And all those things. So anyway, just interesting kind of fun thing. I look at those analytics. I always wonder why there's only 245 views on something like this. And then I go to someone destroying a car and they're getting millions of views. Maybe I need to destroy a car as I'm teaching farming. Maybe I need to sell a chocolate factory. I don't know. But it always boggles me. But resoluteness, breakthrough, continue to, I don't know. It's not like I want, begging for fame is like begging for the edge of a sword. But begging for the message of KNF to get out to a larger audience is begging for the earth to return to a tropical paradise. And it's not about me. It's about this message. It's about these things. It's about what I'm talking about. It's about growing. It's about, getting these solutions out and honoring Master Cho and putting the right knowledge in the right people's hands around the world so we can make it a better place. But enough of that. I talk about that way too often. So, Solar Gourmet from Germany, what's up? Bracken Sie Deutsch? It's the only German, and Achtung, and whatever, can tell I played Wolfenstein as a kid. I don't know much German, but I'm glad you speak English and we can communicate. And Solar Gourmet is saying, I've read somewhere that I can replace the potatoes in the disgustingly cheap microbes by any kind of starch, but it has to be cooked. Example, rice, oats, flakes could be used as a good alternative. True? Absolutely. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. The microbes are into bitte nein. I don't know what that means. Not good. I don't know. Nine, that's another one that I know. So yeah, you can use any starch. The reason you want to cook it is it's more easily available to the microbes. A cooked starch will kind of spread out in the water. I've used pieces of bread that, white bread just sitting around that I had. It's like, shoot, what do I do? White bread. You could use the starchy white rice water, just similar to collecting the lactic acid bacteria. You can use a tortilla. You can use the oats that you're talking about. You can use any of these things. The key is to kind of mush it so the water becomes a little cloudy, and then the starch is getting into the water, right? And then those microbes have all that starch to eat. The difference between different starches is the timing will be slightly different. Some starches are more easily digested and consumed by the microorganisms. So if you have potato, it's pretty quickly consumed. So your disgustingly cheap microbes grow really quickly. And let me bring that up here of just what I'm showing here. It's a little graph. It's in this one. I'll bring this over. Go down to the disgustingly cheap guys right here. And then bring that over. So what I'm showing on this graph here, this is the disgustingly cheap microbes, also known as Jadam microbe solution. But basically it's water, microbes, a half cup of boiled potato or starch, which actually a cup is maybe better. I don't know. You can't really overstarch it. And some salt. You put that into the water, and in the beginning you mix it into the water. There's no bubbles. And this is your good microbes on this line here. This is your like kind of zombie fertilizer microbes, anaerobic guys on this one. And what happens is immediately, this is time starting hour 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, 72, going out. And those hours I just took as, the timing for me in Hawaii. This scales based on your temperature. If it's really cold, this thing will go out to, even maybe 5-6 days. But for me here, 72 hours, 3 days is plenty. And so as this starts out, your fertilizer or the worker, the soil microbes grow faster, and they'll kind of grow and they'll hit a peak. As they're kind of peaking out, these other guys start to consume and eat them, and then the stinky guys take over. And so once you've got enough starch in there, you're going to encourage these worker microbes to grow, and then you want to harvest it right here when their rings are at their peak, as they're kind of bubbling. And I should have a picture of that for you here to see, but I don't. I kind of animated it this way. So any starch will work. Here I'm showing a taro plant, but boiled potato or starch of any sort will work. We'll get it done. So, yeah, It's pretty amazing. Um, so, yeah, mushroom season's getting ready to start there. Spreading 400 pounds of IMO next week on the farm. Been waiting all winter. That's awesome, man. That's really cool. I saw your IMOs being made earlier this winter. Stonemason shared a picture. It's in past episodes. Maybe I'll make a short of that if I can find which episode it was and export that thing. But yeah, and it was a backbreaker to turn that much. I know you got kids, man. You got to get those kids in there. Yeah, and you're a stonemason. You're used to heavy stuff. Well, I know how it goes. I try to save my back as much as possible. Using my BCS with the ridger to turn the pile sometimes. Although lately I've been just doing it with the shovel. It's good. Yeah, and the Goof Man, what's up from New York? He's saying he's done it with potato flakes, like instant mashed potato type stuff. And he said it works great for the disgustingly cheap Jadal microbes, and it does, right? It's a good thing there. So yeah. So anyway, those are the things I wanted to share here. Getting those things out. Excuse me 1 second. I'm gonna drink some milk here, fresh from our cow. And in my life, my whole thing's been shifting over. Been considering myself much more of a rancher lately, and really 90% of my effort is on making my pastures better through a combination of putting out fish with microbes on it, spraying it with seawater, spraying with lactobacillus, making IMO teas, putting that out. And I'm just starting to work on the pasture behind me out there on the roadside. And, just trying to rotate cattle, do regenerative ag, increase moisture content, reduce climate change, with more air, with more water, less the air can change, right? Less changing of climate. Makes sense to me, but I don't have billions of dollars to get this message out. So it's up to us as a resolute breakthrough, something we can do. But before I get into this, I just wanted to an orange cowboy hat. Yeah. I don't know, the trucker hat, if I turn it up like this, it looks like a pirate hat. Yar. Maybe it's flat. That's how to wear it, right? Yeah, maybe an orange cowboy hat. If I ever make it back to Texas and hang out with in Austin again, definitely get an orange cowboy hat. Get the one from Dumb and Dumber, because then I can, it's one of my favorite movies. I don't know if you guys are into that. And, maybe my YouTube would be better if I put a light on me to lit this thing up better. I don't know. But here, just before I get into this little picture, me and Master Cho hanging out. This was a while ago, but I was thinking of redoing the intro video for office hours and put some more Master Cho in there, and been working on a few good things for that. But no more questions here. Let's see. Oh, no, I did have a question. That's good. I clicked on this because Anne Papali asked, and it says 2 days ago, but this was actually on the 17th. That she says, I really appreciate all that information and the number of videos you've put out there, and for your time. You certainly have made the world a better place. Thank you so much. Awesome. Thanks, Anne. Some doubts. Okay. Well, let's deal with those. To what temperature can we heat the vinegar so it maintains the property, but the mother does not form? And this is interesting of that. I mean, I think I believe it's like 150 degrees, but let me look up pasteurizing vinegar, and I believe that it's not that much. that temperature is not that much here. Here's somebody doing this. Oh, yeah, right here, it's 155 degrees for 30 minutes. And that's what like pasteurization is, right? So here's somebody kind of describing it of homemade vinegar. Yeah, and she's squelching the acid producing bacteria, right? I thought it was 130. It's actually 155, I guess, is what pasteurization is. So here it is, right? And it's saying ease the pot to now boiling water, and they're using a double boiler here, right? So they're not just trying to boil it itself, they're actually putting it in a double boiler. So this outer pan has water in it, they're getting it up to 155, then they're putting the second thing back in that. And that's how they're doing it. So for vinegar, you want to pasteurize at 155 degrees, a double boiler, and that should be good for you. Let's see here. So, yeah, and I'm just going off what the internet said here. Let's see. Let's actually put that and then this on top of that. Okay, and then go back here. So that'll pasteurize it. The mother won't form once you've pasteurized it. I'm not sure you need to do that whole pasteurization process for that long, but that is like what the definition of pasteurization is. 155 degrees, 30 minutes or more, or 30 minutes, and then you'll get that. I doubt the mothers will form again. And okay, and then it says, so her next question is, when we foliar spray the solutions, for example, the maintenance solution or a bloom solution, can we always add IMOs as well, or is it better to spray the solution by itself? And the answer to that one is that it's you can combine both. So here, let me pull this up here. It's this one, and then that one, and let me go here. So what she's asking about here is these different solutions here. Okay, so saying she's going to spray the maintenance, which is food, cleanser, medicine, and structure together. Can you also add IMOs to that? Totally. If you make an IMO tea, so you make a liquid IMO tea, so you take IMOs and you put them in with the maintenance solution or a soil solution or any of these solutions, and you brew them up, and then you put that into your sprayer. You don't want to spray concentrated liquid IMO typically. You typically want to dilute your liquid IMO. So say for instance, I have a 50-gallon sprayer. I brew 5 gallons of liquid IMO. Then I put that into my sprayer. Then I'll add the correct amount of maintenance for 50 gallons. And then I'll spray that. So I'm getting the nutrients plus some of the diluted IMO. And that's the way I'm using it when I'm spraying it out there. So, can you use microbes at the same time? Absolutely. But you don't necessarily want to spray a complete concentrated liquid IMO. You can, but it's only, there's a certain threshold of microbes to like needing and diluting them a little bit is fine. More water enables them to go where they need to go. And more microbes, it's just, your mileage may vary. It's really, we need to do that. And how many hours for the brew is also another good question. Thanks, Stonemason. I tend to brew my microbes. So I have a Vortex brewer. I know I've shown it before. And I tend to turn it on for 3-4 hours in the beginning. It puts a bunch of oxygen in. It's spinning at the bottom in a vortex. It's dropping a waterfall at the top. And I'll run that for 3-4 hours, and then I'll turn it off. And I let it sit in there for overnight, basically, mainly because we're on solar and I don't have that much energy to run it at night. But I don't know if continually brewing for 48 or 24 hours would be any better. But then I'll turn it on right before, so the next day, so I run it for 3-4 hours, then I let it sit for 12 hours or so. And it still stays aerobic because it's highly oxygenated at that point from all that prior oxygenation. And then I'll turn it off, and then I turn it back on right before I'll mix it into my tank. And I'll run it for about an hour, usually while I'm filling up the tractor with water and the other things. I'll just turn it on, and then the last thing I make my mix, fill up the tractor with water. Then I come dump the last bits into my tractor bucket or into my tractor sprayer, and then I go out and spray it. So that last oxygenation ensures that anything that was anaerobic gets super oxygenated, and I'm putting out aerobic microbes, and maybe it breaks some things up and whatever, I don't know. But that's how I've been doing it. Is that the best way? I don't know. Is it the way I do it? Yes. Is it the way you can do it and get good results? Almost certainly. Are there other ways? Totally. So, so anyway, your mileage may vary, but all of these things, you can mix microbes into. What's the reason for it is that if you mix microbes into these, they will then help coat the leaf surface with good microbes. They will what else? They will in my pastures, that's the method I'm using. It's going to go into the soil. They're going to start to the grass grows better. It grows faster. It's greener. They have better breakdown of everything. There's you can listen to Elaine Ingham talk about compost tea and how good it is, and it's there. So there's a lot of resources on compost tea out there. And again, if you are interested in that, if you look at my channel below, and then you go search my channel or look at my playlists, I don't know, I think you can go to my channel and there's playlists. There's a thing by Elaine Ingham, Common Ground 2012. She talks about compost tea for 24 hours. So, and she's kind of the lord of compost tea, and good compost, whatever that means, right? But good compost, you just use IMOs, better compost, best compost. So that works. And so, yeah. And then whole watch. Oh, before I get to this other question, let me go and finish up with what Anne had one more question here. Thanks for those questions, Anne. And she was asking, would structure or the food get consumed by the IMO rather than the plant? And that's what I was talking about here. So she's asking, when you're brewing it in this tea, would those things get consumed by the IMO rather than the plant? And the answer is sort of, yeah. That's going to be consumed into the IMO's bodies. But once the IMOs go out there, they will die, and that will be released, and you will end up getting that in your plant anyway. But like I said, I'm only doing 5 gallons of this mixture, and that's being consumed by the microbes. But then I'm filling a 50-gallon tank, so I'm adding additional food, cleanser, medicine, and structure into that tank at the proper dilutions, and then I'm spraying it out. So yeah, they're going to consume some of it, but yeah, I'm also adding more to it. So they're not going to consume what I just put in that short amount of time. They just, it's a function of time, how fast they'll consume it. And so I'm making another tea, and then that way those nutrients are going out, that water's going in, it's inviting the microbes into the soil, and you're getting an even better broadcast application of your liquid IMO by adding more solution in once you've diluted your microbes. So I hope all that makes sense, and that's the way I'm doing it. It's the way it's pretty darn effective, I tell you. And it's nice because now my pastures are coming to life, my grass is healthier, my cows are getting, healthier. Everything is working out really well that way. So, yep, that's how to do IMOT. So, next question here is going to be, let me get back to this. Got a live question here from Hole. What you got? Hole, what you got? Sounds you must speak pigeon. I don't know, maybe not. When making calcium with the cleanser and eggshells, does it matter if I use icing vinegar? Oh, use living vinegar, or can I use a pasteurized vinegar for the same results? And my mom actually asked me this question yesterday. She was saying, can we just use white vinegar to make the dissolution type of solutions? Meaning that both the eggshells and the charred bones are both dissolved, right? You end up with KNF reproduction by dissolving the eggshells after they've been toasted and the organic matter's been removed. And you end up getting water-soluble calcium phosphate from the KNF structure when you burn the bones and then dissolve them in vinegar, right? So you get those two, calcium, which is reproduction, and calcium phosphate, which is structure. Both those are dissolved. And in the dissolution process, you're really just looking for the acetic acid. And so, you know, if you were like a high baller, got tons of money, go with the brown rice vinegar or the apple cider vinegar. But if you're like me and you're just a farmer making it with what you got, and then use the white vinegar. Because the white vinegar, you're just looking for that acetic acid content to dissolve those things into a water-soluble form. And it's basically off-gassing the CO2 as it dissolves these things. And that is what you're looking for. So I use white vinegar. It's awesome. It's cheaper. It's easier to get. And however, you know, it does have its, you know, its drawbacks to it, being that, you know, who knows how it's made. In your living vinegar, you're going to get the addition of when you use a living vinegar, you're going to get more enzymes, more proteins, more DNAs, you know, the microbiome's complete. Vinegar itself is amazing. But in majority of KNF solutions, you're going to be using, for instance, here, I'm going to be using structure plus cleanser, right? So the structure can be from the white vinegar, and then this cleanser is going to add in those aminos and these other bits that I get from a living vinegar. So in this case, this column here where it says cleanser, this should never be a white vinegar. It should always be a living vinegar, apple cider vinegar, something that's like has a living mother in it. That's what you're wanting. Fresh vinegar, make your own. But the structure column can be a white vinegar dissolved, and the reproduction column over here can be a, you know, made with white vinegar as well. So, you know, in the apple cider vinegar that Heinz sells is it's just caramel color added. There's nothing special about it. There's no apples in there. There's no cider in it. It's really kind of mislabeling. I don't know. Someone should fix that. But so anyway, I'm always including a living vinegar in this column, and then something made from the white vinegar. So I'm not just using white vinegar for the cleanser. When it calls for cleanser, I'm always using a living vinegar. So just to clarify that as well, because sometimes that can be mistaken there. So let's go and get the wisdom of Master Cho here and go to his, that's kind of funny. I'm wearing a Semper Veritas shirt. Always truthful. And let's go to Master Cho talking about his recipes here. And here we go. Thank you. See, he knows about the AI. He's thanking it ahead of time. And us, right? It's always good to say thank you. But where were we? Where are we? Last time we went over plant juice, it looks like. What was this? Oh, it was lacto. Yep, we ended up there. Thank you. So if you're following this series, you know, towards the end of the office hours, I've been going through these, this presentation. We're on slide 149, and we're about halfway through the presentation. So lots more coming for you. Lots more, you know, looks like I can do this for a whole nother year. Depends how quick we go through these things, but Master Cho, this is basically his complete slide deck that I have here, and today he's talking about fish amino acid. I call fish amino acid KNF Fuel, because when you use the fish amino acid, it ignites things. It is just like throwing gas on a fire. It's just like things just take off. Fish and the aminos that you get from them are just some of the, especially if you leave it 2-3 years, it's just so fine, so broken down, so sweet. When you taste it, it's just some of the best fish sauce you've had. You're going to want to make kimchi, and you're going to want to put it in your stir fry, and it's just raw fish and sugar, but it's that good. But this fuel, and it youthens you as well, right? I'm getting older, right? And imagine all you are getting older, unless, someone out there is Benjamin Button, and hey, we got Benjamin, but your last name's not Button, so, I don't know. But as we get older, this is like the building blocks of life. It'll youthen you. It'll bring you to life, right? This is of all the solutions out there. So before I talk too much just on the intro slide, let's get into it. Right? Classic YouTube thing to say. Let's get into it, right? Everybody's like, da-da-da, let's get into it. Anyway, so characteristics of fish amino acid by Master Cho here. It says fish amino acid is a liquid made from fish waste. Awesome. That means you're not using brand new fish here. You're not using something that you'd eat, that you're like, the fillets and stuff. Eat the fillets. What you're left over with, the spine, the bones, the leftover heads, tails, guts, all those things, they qualify as fish waste. That's what you're after. The best material to use are the heads. I'll just throw that out there right now, is the heads. A bunch of the guts, only so-so. A bunch of the spines, so-so. The spines just they have a little less meat on them, a little less to dissolve. A bunch of spines are good. The problem with a bunch of guts is that the bunch of guts have a lot of liquid in them, and you tend to have to add more sugar. It can kind of get away from you. It can kind of rot, can kind of get stinky and gross, especially if you got you got this bucket of fish waste and you got a bunch of blood left over in the bottom. You think, oh, I'm going to make this even better. And you pour that blood in there. It's only sort of what you're looking for. You're not really looking for blood amino acid. You're looking for the fish amino acid. Although last week we had a super funny thing where we were talking about this, and we were talking about deer, and someone was talking about fermented deer juice, FDJ, and then they were going to sell it at Cabela's and stuff, and it was pretty funny. I do want to also say that fish amino acid, just right at this point, I'll say that that you can, you don't have fish around you, like he recommends to use ocean fish, deep water predator ocean fish, or sardines. But if you don't have that, freshwater fish are fine. I've done it from tilapia. They're awesome. Salmons would probably work, trouts, whatever you got. But that you can also use deer, pigs, rats, mongoose, snails, all these things. These living organisms are going to melt the same way with this recipe to make fish amino acid. So, and if you talk to Gil Karangdang, he can say, you can make this from your mother-in-law, right? That's his classic joke. It's like, so you can make this from anything, but he's recommending here fish, and we'll stick with fish for now, but just realize you can substitute in whatever you want here. And some of the farm fish, hey, it's fine. Farm fish ain't no difference, man. Sure, they have different fats and different things, and sure, it is different for you to eat, but you can make it from them, and you're just after the aminos, right? I said you can make it from mongoose, rats, I'm really going out there on a limb to say what you can make it from. Do you want to eat the one you made from rats? Probably not, unless you're, I've seen some nuts stuff on the internet. I was watching off this Joe Rogan. I watched this episode of Hoarders. Oh, this lady was eating. Oh, anyway, I don't even want to get into it. But if you really want to disgust yourself, look for Joe Rogan Hoarders and then go watch that episode. And it's like, oh, it's beyond gross. So anyway, back to the fish, back to palatable things. Yeah, mongoose amino acid. Yeah, it's where it's at. If you got enough of them. Chicken amino acid, which I think Cheryl was talking about that last week. She was like, hey, if a chicken dies, just throw it in the bucket, little sugar. That'll let feather meal, everything will break down. You'll end up with really good stuff after a year. Equal part sugar, key. So anyway, before I get into that, because there's more slides here, there's 4 or 5 more. Looks like there's at least 3 more slides of information on this. So I don't want to get into spoil it all here. So he says the fish amino acid is of great value to both plants and microorganisms in their growth. So, number one, it's going to, you spray it on a plant, it's going to go directly in, and the plant is just going to reproduce. The leaves are going to get bigger. You're going to cause what I call chubby growth. And if your plant wants to do chubby growth and you put fish amino acid at the same time, it will get chubbier, and that chubby will be done well. And then from that chubby growth, then it's more like to structure and reproduction, and that's when it stretches and goes into skinny growth. So fish amino acid, what's great value to plants, is in that chubby growth period. And it's just like adding enough fuel to your fire to make sure that you are having enough enough fuel. So you'll notice here, if I go to this chart here, right here, that when we use it, here it's under the fuel line here. So in seeds, it's 1 to 1,000. In leaves, it's 1 to 1,000. But then in bloom, it goes 1 to 3,000. And fruit, it goes to 1 to 3,000. So you're still using it in bloom and fruit, but you are using way less. And it's of great value because you always need a little bit of fuel to keep that fire going, keep that growth, keep everything going. And the fish amino acid has fats and oils and different things that plants need and different compounds. And so it's of great use to those. Why isn't it in the soil formula? Why isn't it in the maintenance formula? I don't really know. Hola. But I don't really know, right? This is Master Cho's verbatim chart, and people can say, oh, this is right, this is wrong. This is what we got directly from Master Cho. This is his recipes. You really want to watch that. Go down to, my YouTube and go watch it for yourself. Master Cho Nutrient Cycle. It's a whole thing, series there of, him talking to us and telling us. There's so many of me directly filming Master Cho talking to us, and people ask him these questions and he's answered them directly. That's why I'm able to sit here and do all this, right? He's taught me all this stuff, and I'm just here, not just hearsay. I actually participate. I actually do this. I really have embodied natural farming in myself. He always talks about the amount of microbes in my beard. He also says there's pigs in my beard. I'm not really sure. I haven't found a pig yet. But my pig is going to give birth in today and next Sunday. I'll have little baby pigs. Hopefully I'll have little baby pig pictures. Oh, I love the baby pigs. Oh, they're so awesome. But my pig's about to have more pigs. So, oh yeah. Maybe I'll put one in my beard and show a picture of that. That'd be pretty funny. So anyway, he's saying it's of great value to plants and microorganisms in their growth, right? So when you're thinking about applying natural farming solutions to your land, or your farm, think about, man, I'm not only feeding my plants, I'm also feeding the microbes. And so even if you're spraying foliarly, these things will be transported, they'll drip, they'll get down, the rain will knock it down. Like, I talk about rain because it rains here all the time, but maybe it won't at your place. Maybe it's a desert, but it'll, and so think of it. You're not only feeding your plant, you're feeding the soil, the microbes, everything together. So you start to think of your farm as a holistic, interconnected system that everything's eating itself and it's all going. The more food you add, the more, the less stress there is, the more growth potential there is, everything grows better, right? So anyway, let's get back to this. They're of great value, right? Great value. Tiny bit goes a long way. Some people want to take the FAA because it's like nitrogen and they want to just load tons of it. It's like, no. It's 1 to 1,000, 1 to 3,000. Like, if you add too much, you'll get too much overgrowth. And then your plant won't reproduce well. It's too heavy. It's done too much vegetative growth and doesn't go well into the reproductive period. And so the whole point is to get the reproductive parts of your plant almost always. Unless you're going like lettuces or kales or chards, leafy greens, then maybe go an OD on the FAA. But then you won't have long-term sustainable good crops. And you're probably not producing as healthy of a product. It's like getting obese, right? Obesity is not healthy per se. Like you just don't want to overeat. You don't want to overeat your plants. You don't want to get them so that they're so nitrogenous that they can't grow well, right? Some people want to overdose it, but anyway, go easy on it. That's what I'm saying. But it's of great value. A small bit goes a long way. Yeah, and nitrogen is the most widely abused mistimed nutrient in agriculture, because when you use it, you see this boom, this nitrogen, this huge growth, and you think, wow, my plant's so healthy, it's growing so well, but ultimately it's not, and ultimately it's making it sick. So, and don't, so much time, beef knuckle, okay, yeah. Straight application of any of this will burn things. It's 1 to 1,000, 1 to 3,000, okay? Like, so anyway, I'm going to go on to the next slide here because he does probably get into application. I don't know. Here's how to mix it. Right? Here's how to make it, right? How to make fish amino acid. You take fish, and I don't know why they're doing this on a table. These guys are wild. I just do it straight into a bucket, to be honest, straight into a bucket. But the key is you're putting brown sugar here. You could use white sugar, but brown sugar is going to add all those minerals. But the sugar is going to dry it out, and it says mix it 1 to 1, right? And he's using blue back fish, right? These look like sardines to me. I'm not sure exactly what blue back fish is, but some oily, nice sea fish that he's using here, 1 to 1. So whatever you're using, 1 to 1. However, if you got a bunch of guts, maybe a little bit more sugar, just saying. And then put the mixture in a container, which I recommend you just mix it in the container and just layer it. I don't know, you wouldn't want to pick, it's going to be heavy. My buckets end up weighing like 40, 50 pounds once I'm done, right? Putting in like 25 pounds of a 5-gallon bucket, I'm putting in like 25 pounds of sugar, 25 pounds of fish. Like that's a 50-pound bucket, right? You don't want to be lifting that. Just put it in the bucket. And you can go big. You can go small to like a jar size, or you could also go big, like 55-gallon drum. You could go bigger than that. However, you go bigger, you're running the risk of contamination and maggots and whatever getting in there and ruining your whole batch. So I highly recommend like 5-gallon bucket to be your size, or 35-gallon bucket, but not bigger than that. You go big, 55 gallons. My friends across the street did three 55-gallon drums. 2 of them got corrupted, where maggots got in there. It's just gross as heck. Their one was really good, but it's like, man, that much sugar, it's going to cost you a fortune to do it. And then your batch gets gross from bugs. It's like smaller buckets, sealed lids. Awesome. Okay, so he's saying mix the stuff, put it in a container. Then he's saying here, add IMO4 in order to decompose the fish oil and the meat. I don't do this. I recommend you don't. It'll decompose the oil, right? The fish oil is actually worthwhile. It will decompose fine without this. You don't need this. A bunch of people are like, I don't have that. You don't need it. I highly recommend you don't do this step. Step number 4, a little amount of OHN and mineral A to revitalize the IMO4. Again, I don't add OHN, I don't add mineral A, which would be like seawater to it. I don't add either of those. You don't need it. It's unnecessary. If you want to do this and you want to do it, hey, go ahead, do it. Do it side by side. Awesome, whatever. I don't do either of those. Then he says, then step 5 here is cover the top of the jar with brown sugar, IMO4, OHN, mineral A, and rice straw. I don't do any of those either. It's unnecessary. The rice straw and stuff, it's like, it's unnecessary. You can do it. This is Master Cho saying it. I'm not saying to not do it, but I'm saying don't do it, right? I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens, right? It's like all these steps here, unnecessary. However, you know, some will keep the smell down, but there shouldn't be smell if you did it right. If you add enough sugar, there shouldn't be any smell. It might break it down faster, but you don't need it. It's going to break down as fast as you need. The IMO is just actually going to start breaking it down in ways that I find you don't need. Okay. So, so that here, let's see, we got a little bit of chat here. Let's see, read these here. In Alvin, hey, you should super chat things, man, because is there a big difference between fish amino acid and fish hydrolysate using the same fish parts? Absolutely. Fish amino acid is the whole fish, whereas fish amino acid, the whole fish, versus fish hydrolysate are parts of the fish. Typically, fish hydrolysate's been heated up, done some industrial processing. It's when you heat up proteins like nitrogen, aminos, you heat up proteins, they become denatured, and so fish hydrolysate is an inferior product to full Korean natural farming FAA. You know, challenge me on a side-by-side. Let's do it. Put two plants, spray fish hydrolysate on one, fish amino on the other at the recommended dilutions. I don't know. You know, I think you're going to see a healthier plant made from FAA, or KNF Fuel, as I call it. And so... yeah, and nitrogen, chicken, you know, if you're using chicken manure, nitrogens always ferment them first, but nitrogens are great. Someone, you know, using red snapper, red grouper, similar fish, yeah, awesome. Just make it fish amino acid. It's way easier. It's way less gross. And notice there's no chopping there. If anything, you got to chop it just to fit into the thing, but really not much more. And then we'll go back. A couple of my plants seem to be low on nitrogen. They're yellowing leaves on the bottom and getting necrotic and dying. You're actually missing calcium phosphate. Yeah, so you're going to over nitrogen when they're not actually wanting nitrogen. You're getting a little yellowing because it's going through a reproductive period. You're actually going through into reproductive. And so you're missing calcium phosphate. You're missing structure if it's getting necrotic and dying. More nitrogen is going to make your problem worse. So a lot of people mistake yellowing and they think it's nitrogen because nitrogen's, you know, NPK. It's the one we can remember, nitrogen. Just give it more nitrogen. You're going to kill it faster. So don't use that. It's actually, yeah, you're killing your plant, as Partita says. And you're overwhelming the plant with those nitrogen sources. You're shutting off the roots. They're not getting things, and you're actually missing calcium phosphate. So you need to add KNF Structure. So dissolve bones, put it on. That's what you're missing. Classic common problem there is, you know, oh, my plant's yellowing, put nitrogen. No, the plant yellows at certain points in its life. It's actually the changeover reproductive period is that slight yellowing period. So anyway, almost, yeah, thanks. Yeah, those are good things. Yeah, and Partita is the most scientific person out here. He's backing me up on that, which is true. And so then we're going into the last slide on fish amino acid, how to use it. Excellent feed for our microorganisms. Look how happy that microbe is. He's partying. Not sure what's in his hands there. Hey, Ben, just woo. There's the super chat we were looking for. You got Alvin. You see what? Oh, it's Snow Mason. Oh my gosh. Oh, let it rain. You guys. Oh, it's cool. It's cool. And you guys don't even ask the hard questions. You guys are just here to enjoying because Ben's taking the class and Stonemason's like epic, been doing this for years. But I appreciate you guys, man. That's like the thing, especially if you're asking questions where you need help. It's like, oh, yeah, it's like this exchange. But you guys, make up for everybody. Anyway, I love it. That's great. Cool. So let's finish this up on fish amino and then I'll go to my thing. It's 10 o'clock. Office hour is almost over, but I will go longer for you because of those nice super chats and because I just love it. And it's a global community, right? Okay. And enough. Get back. Okay. So excellent feed. The juice is extracted in a couple of days. Sure. So when can you use fish amino acid? As soon as it's liquid, you can use it. Is it going to be good if I'm using it a few days after I've made it mix the fish and sugar? No, it's not really going to be that good. What's going to be good is if I let those aminos break down and they get simpler and simpler and simpler, and I let it go 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. You'll notice the difference. And I challenge you, take a thing, make a batch, sample it after 3 days, sample it after a week, sample it after a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year. All those times you will see it get different, smoother, finer, better. The smell will change, the taste will change, everything will change, and it will be just like so smooth and so good that a 2-3-year-old batch just smells sweet. It's amazing. It's like you open it, it's just like, oh, this is good fish sauce here. And that's what it is. So it says after a couple days. Sure, you can use it after a couple days. The longer you wait, the more effective, the more better it's going to be, the easier it's going to be for your plants to absorb, the easier it's going to be to use. Some people say don't use it before 3 months. You can use it as soon as it's liquid. But the longer you wait, the better it's going to be. Okay, that's all. I don't know. My oldest batches are probably like 7 years old. They're pretty good. They're awesome, actually. I mean, I just make tons of fish amino acid. I have them on the shelf. It's, a class will come, I'll show them these old batches and they'll taste the difference. And it's just like, oh, it's so good. But again, here on his usage, he's saying dilute it 0.1% or less, 0.1% or less, which is 1 to 1,000 or less. And you will then get that amazing stuff. And you can put it on the leaf surface, to the soil, to compost. And this is something I haven't talked about much, but in your composting process, this will highly speed that up. It's like adding the nitrogen party food to really, add the fuel to break down a compost pile, right? So this is how I do it. And then again, thank you, right? Oh, look at that little boat cruising across. He's, between heaven and earth, I guess. But yeah. And then why not just a little extra bonus here? I'll go through my book here, which you can get at knfsupport.com. You can also ask questions at knfsupport.com. It's sponsored by the Pure KNF Foundation. They help me put on this show. It's awesome. It's great. And here's my recipe here of basically taking about a 5-gallon bucket with a lid, about 25 pounds of sugar, 25 pounds of fish waste, which is the heads, guts, and spines, and a rock to put on top. And I add a thin layer of brown sugar to the bottom. Then I add a layer of fish, layer of sugar, layer of fish, layer of sugar, layer of fish. Of course, these layers are pretty small. Sometimes it's just 2 or 3 layers, like sugar, fish. Or I always put sugar on the top layer to finish it out. You don't have to, but I do. And then a rock up here and a third of airspace, and I seal this sucker. And then the next day I open it to check for a rotting smell. Over the next, for the next 3 days, I'll open it, check for a rotting smell. If it smells like it's rotting, then I will add more sugar. If it's not smelling like it's rotting, I seal that lid so no bugs and nothing can get inside, and I put it away. And I forget about it for, many years, apparently. But actually, it's 3 months, right? 6 months. And then that will just turn into this amazing, fine, really good KNF fuel that you can use anywhere. And then once it's done, you can pour off the liquid. And as I pour it off, I continually pour it off. So I'll pour some off, then I'll put the lid back on. More juice will drip out. I'll pour it off again. More juice will drip, and I get about, depending on how much I'm pouring off, I'll get a bunch of pour-offs out of this thing. And, and then once it's done, I'm left over with this material. What do? Well, I feed it to my pigs, but you could easily, throw that in a garden, bury it a little bit, put it in a compost pile, get rid of this extra fish and all that. And again, here, I make a note at the bottom that fish are traditionally used because they add fats and oils, specifically omega-3 fatty acids, which are vital for farming and plants. And just if you're making deer amino acid, I don't know if you're going to get the same omega-3s, omega-3 versus omega-6 and all that, how those things work out. I don't know. But those are important components of growing healthy plants. And again, it's used super dilute at all times to keep the fire burning, right? This is And be careful using it in the later stages because it can cause obesity, and you don't want to use it when things are going to a reproductive period at any concentration, like 1 to 3,000, right? Very dilute. So anyway, that's what I got on that. That's my thing. Let's see here. Any last questions here? What's up, Lucas? Thank you, man. I'm still in the vegetative period. I'll get on more on that. Yeah, you think you're in the vegetative period, but you're actually in the other period. And simmered chicken bones. I don't know which recipe that is, but it's never one that I've used. What about you're looking for the structure, not just the calcium. So, Alvin, you need to come take a class and learn and get some good stuff here because most of your questions will be cleared up. It's pretty easy once you understand the KNF from the roots up. And cool. Ben, I'm looking forward to your photos, sending those. And yeah. And Stonemason, thanks for answering and getting all these things. Yeah. And also, you guys are just an amazing community. I want to thank you for showing up, taking your time, your Sundays, and thanks Stonemason and Ben for super chats and bringing those in. It's always nice to make it even better for the day here. And how do I feel about one last question, Partita? How do I feel about substitution of fish aminos? So instead of the fuel, using a plant juice with more. I don't know. I always think that, in life there's, in nature there's animals and there's things, and I think vegans, it's not the most natural thing. There's one of my friends told me there's never been any indigenous culture that they've found that has been vegan or vegetarian. So if you're thinking like natural, long-term, sustainable, I always romanticize those, but anyway, you can tell what I think without what I'm saying. So thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Stonemason, Cheryl, I love all you guys. It's really been great. I'll try, you guys drop some other questions. I'm trying to get out of here. Maybe I'll answer a few more of those next week. I'll start off with that. And thanks for tuning in. Thanks for natural farming or pure KNF here. And I'm going to go to this one. And then I'm going to drop the curtain. Okay. Shoot. See you next week.